Hi, my name is Brandon, and I'm an alcoholic and addict in recovery. And today I'm continuing to read from The Untethered Soul by Michael A. Singer, continuing with chapter 2. And so, as I talk today, one thing to keep in mind is that we're really starting to talk about creating some space between our thoughts and our emotions and ourselves. And when we are actively in our addiction as addicts or alcoholics, a lot of us find that our emotions and our thoughts are are very linked with what we are and what we do. And it is possible. So if we get mad, for example, if we get angry about something, we go with that anger. We let it fill us up, and we let it fuel our actions and our thinking. And that anger seems to have its own energy that can last for days or weeks or months or even years. Other people have a little bit more space between their emotions and themselves. Have you ever known somebody who can be angry 1 minute and then 10 minutes later they're totally fine? Um, I've known people like that, and I often wondered, how can they do that? What's going on in their heads? And it's about creating some space between ourselves and the emotions and the thoughts that we have. So we're going to read more about this. Yesterday, taught some about how the incessant thinking that goes on in the head, can think about that as your roommate in your head. So I'm going to read what he has to say about this. If you would like to meet your roommate, just try to sit inside yourself for a while in complete solitude and silence. You have the right, it's your inner domain, but instead of finding silence, you're going to listen to incessant chatter. Why am I doing this? I have more important things to do. This is a waste of time. There's nobody in here but me. What's this all about? Right on cue, there's your roommate. You may have a clear intention to be quiet inside, but your roommate won't cooperate. And it's not just when you try to be quiet. It has something to say about everything you look at. I like it. I don't like it. This is good. This is bad. It just talks and talks. You don't generally notice because you don't step back from it. So there's not space generally between you and this roommate. You're so close that you don't realize that you're actually hypnotized into listening to it. Basically, you're not alone in there. There are two distinct aspects of your inner being. The first is you, the awareness, the witness, the center of your willful intentions. And the other is that which you watch. The problem is the part that you watch never shuts up. If you could just get rid of that part, even for a moment, the peace and serenity would be the best vacation you've ever had. Real spiritual growth is about getting out of this predicament. And one of the first things we need to realize is that your roommate can ruin anything you're doing without a moment's notice. So, as an example for this, he says that your roommate, when you buy a new car, for example, you're really excited, and then all of a sudden, every second, this thought pattern is starting to identify things that are wrong with the car. Every little squeak, it starts to pick on, and all of a sudden, you've got this overwhelming feeling that maybe you made a mistake. And so he goes on to say, once you see what this can do for your life, you're ready for real spiritual growth. You're ready for real transformation when you finally say, look at this thing. Look at the roommate. It's ruining my life. I'm trying to live a peaceful, meaningful existence, but I feel like I'm sitting on top of a volcano. At any moment, this thing can decide to freak, close down, and fight with what's happening. One day it likes someone, and the next day it decides to pick on everything they do. My life is a mess just because this thing that lives in here with me has to make melodrama out of everything. Once you've seen this and learned to no longer identify with your roommate, you're ready to free yourself. So that's what we're talking about here. If your response to hearing that paragraph was, Well, that sounds like me. One day I like someone, and then the next day I pick on everything they do. The idea of this is that's not really you that is doing that. That's not really you are the awareness that sees that happening. You are the awareness that's seated. You're in the seat of consciousness, and you're seeing that you pick on someone one day and like them the next. But you are the awareness. And once you can start to get that, then you can create a little space between your thoughts, your emotions, and just that sense of awareness. And that's what we're going for here, is to create some space here. So he gives some advice. If this seems really weird, then take his advice here. I'm going to read about how you can start to watch what's going on in your own head. If you haven't reached this awareness yet, just start to watch. Spend a day watching every single thing your roommate does. Start in the morning and see if you can notice what it's saying in every situation. Every time you meet somebody, every time the phone rings, just try to watch. A good time to watch is while you're taking a shower. Just watch what the voice has to say while you're taking a shower. Your shower is for washing the body. You will see that this voice never lets you take a peaceful shower. Your shower is for watching the body, not watching the mind talk non-stop. See if you can stay conscious enough throughout the entire experience to be aware of what's going on. You'll be shocked by what you see. It just jumps from one subject to the next. The incessant chatter seems so neurotic that you won't believe that it's always that way, but it is. So as you watch this chatter and the way it goes, and the shower example is a great example because that is a time when you are doing a task that is very habitual. You probably don't have to think too much about what you're doing in the shower, and that gives your mind room, your roommate room, to just keep talking, to just keep going. And if you really watch, you will see that it starts to run away with itself, and it will talk about one thing and then go to the next and just jump from topic to topic to topic, without any input from you. And as you watch this, you'll start to see the level of chaos involved in that thinking. And you'll also start to appreciate being distanced from that a little bit and just being able to watch it but not engage in it. So he goes on to say you have to watch this if you want to be free from it. You don't have to do anything about it. Don't try to stop it. Don't try to change it. Just watch it. Just observe it. Just get to know what's happening there. You have to realize that somehow you've ended up with a mess for an inner roommate. If you want to be peaceful in there, you're going to have to fix the situation. The way to catch on to what your inner roommate is really like is to personify it externally. Make believe that your roommate, the psyche, has a body of its own. You do this by taking the entire personality that you hear talking to you inside and imagine it as a person talking to you on the outside. Just imagine that another person is now saying everything that your inner voice would say. Now spend a day with that person. And he talks about this at length, about what it would be like to spend a day with a person who says everything that our inner voices say. What would that be like? And then think about it this way. Would you take advice from that person? Probably not. And yet we do that all the time. We go to this inner voice to try to help us solve our problems and think through our problems. Would you listen to that person when they tell you something terrible is going to happen or that you should feel a certain way? No, you wouldn't do that. And yet that's what we do with this inner voice. We hear this inner voice and we kind of just follow along with what it says. So again, if we can start to create some space between us and this voice, then we start to see that You know, there's really a dual existence going on here. There's us who are in the seat of consciousness watching everything that happens, and then this mental activity that doesn't really represent who we are. And so, some of the last things that he said is that he talks about is that, you know, we can't change anything about the way we interact with this roommate until we really want to. And this gets into things that many of us alcoholics and addicts in recovery will recognize. The last paragraph he says here is, if you want to free yourself, you must first become conscious enough to understand your predicament. So that sounds a lot like step one in 12-step traditions. Then you must commit yourself to the inner work of freedom. That sounds a lot like step three to me. You do this as though your life depended on it because it does. And that reminded me of the daily reprieve. Daily reprieve contingent on the maintenance of our spiritual condition. As it is right now, your life is not your own. It belongs to your inner roommate, to the psyche. You have to take it back. Stand firm in the seat of the witness and release the hold that the habitual mind has on you. This is your life. Reclaim it. So I think that this is the kind of thing that in my addiction, had I been talked to about this, had I read this, I would dismiss it as new age bullshit. In recovery, I read this and identify with it a lot, and I find a lot of wisdom in here. And I can tell you, just by exercising some of the things that he's talked about over the last 24 hours, I've seen a shift in perspective in some ways, with not only how I interact with the world around me, but with my ability to not let my emotions run away with me. I'd encourage you to do the same thing. Find a little distance. Make a little space between you and your emotions and your thoughts. You know, they don't. Your existence does not depend on what you think or what you feel. And sit on that for a little bit. Think about it. You know, and I'll be back tomorrow to start chapter 3 and get into you know, what does it really mean to be you. So talk to you then. Hope you have a great day.